Well, acrobatic ants, unladylike ladybirds, tap dancing termites, singing sandflies, wobbling wetters, glowing worms, musical centipedes, and a grasshopper with a wooden leg, a patch over one eye, and a hook for a hand, and a flea on its shoulder squawking, "Ah, Polly, what a cracker!" and a singing praying mantis with one wooden leg and a long red coat. Dear Carl and Michael had outdone themselves this time. Their imagination had got a little carried away. Or was it their imagination? Maybe it was real. The next day at school, Tia, Carl and Michael talked non-stop about their adventure in the playground. "What if it's really real?" said Tia. During a science experiment in class, "They're only insect pirates," said Carl. "What can they do?" At lunchtime, "What if they tie us up and put us in a cave?" Michael sounded worried. By afternoon tea time, it was settled. "Let's all go home to my place straight after school," said Tia. Michael was a little concerned about missing rugby practice, but after all, these were pirates. Straight after school, our fearless adventurers ran as fast as they could. They cut across the field, through the bush, over the stream, and behind Big Adam's house, nearly tripping over his pet possum Monday. "Look out!" shouted Tia, but it was too late. Michael avoided stepping on Monday, but landed headfirst in Big Adam's rubbish bin. He got up, dusted himself off, and ran after Tia and Carl. There it stood, just the way they'd left it. Their backyard make-believe waka. They stood there for a minute, not sure whether to jump in or not. "Come on," said Michael. "They're only insect pirates. What can they do?" They all jumped on board their waka, and just like the other days, there they were. "I say, there's a good man. What is it that you want?" asked the grasshopper pirate with a patch over one eye, a wooden leg, and a flea on his shoulder, squawking, "Wah! Polly, what a cracker! Polly, what a cracker! Wah!" Tia, Carl and Michael were right back where they were the day before. "What's all this interrupting our sing-along, eh, what?" Tia, Carl and Michael looked at each other. "Kia ora! Talofa! G'day!" said Tia, Carl and Michael. "We're a little bit lost," said Michael. "I'll say you're lost," said the grasshopper pirate, the one with the patch over his eye, the wooden leg, and the flea on his shoulder, squawking, "Wah! Polly, what a cracker! Polly, what a cracker! Wah! This is our treasure island, and no one else is allowed on our treasure island. It's got our treasure on it, and it's ours, all ours, you see, all ours." The insect pirates didn't seem very happy to see Tia, Carl and Michael at all. The insect pirates took a step towards the three adventurers. Tia, Carl and Michael took a step backwards. They were just a little bit scared, but only just a little bit. The insect pirates took another step forward. Tia, Carl and Michael took another step backwards. "Look, we're really very sorry for being on your treasure island. We didn't mean any harm," said Tia, and the insect pirates took another step forward. Tia, Carl and Michael took another step backwards. I think we'll be going now. Sorry for bothering you," said Carl, and the insect pirates took another step forward. Tia, Carl and Michael took another step backwards. Michael cleared his throat to say something. But before he could say sorry for all the trouble and "we'll be off now," without even seeing where they were going, whoosh, bang, whiz! Tia was the first one to fall down the hole. Next followed Carl, then Michael. They all cried as they fell further and further down into the deep, dark hole. "Where do you think this is going?" shouted Tia as she fell further and further. "I don't know, but it sure is fun! Whee!" shouted Carl. "Are we there yet?" shouted Michael. Then splash, wallop, thud, they landed in a huge underwater river. The river was moving very fast and they were being rushed along with the current. "This is great!" shouted Carl, who was really starting to enjoy the ride. "This is better than the A&P show!" As they tore down the river, they got faster and faster until the river narrowed down into a little gap in the rocks, like a water slide in the cave. Whoosh! They were shot down the water slide. They swished and swashed down the water slide, faster and faster, splishing and splashing. "Yippee!" shouted Tia. It was just like a giant hydroslide. But even hydroslides come to an end, and all three, whoosh, 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 were thrown over a waterfall and splash, splash, splash into a big underground pond. "Wow, that was fun," said Michael. "Where do you think we are now?" asked Carl. It was quite dark, and by the sound of the echo in his voice, it was quite a big cave. "Kia ora!" shouted Tia. "Kia ora!" Her voice echoed back to her. "Talofa!" shouted Carl. "Talofa!" His voice echoed back to him. "G'day!" shouted Michael. "Who said that?" came a totally new voice that none of them recognised. "Who said that?" said Tia. "Who said what?" said the voice. Who said that?" said Carl. "Who said that?" said the voice. "I said that," said Carl. "I don't know who said what to who anymore," said Michael. "Who said that?" said the voice. "Kia ora, I'm Tia," said Tia. "Talofa, I'm Carl," said Carl. "G'day, I'm Michael," said Michael. "Hello, I'm lost," said the voice. "Me too," said another voice. "And me," said another. "I have no idea where I am," said another voice. "We're all lost," said lots of voices. From the top of the cave there was a tiny little hole way up high, letting in just enough light for them to see, and as their eyes grew accustomed to the dark cave, they saw who was who.
We're lost, we are very, very lost. We lost our way one lovely day and now we can't get back. Yes, we're lost, we are very, very lost. We swam in on a wave right into this cave and now we can't get out. Now every day and every way we try to swim our way out. We would if we could get out of this cave, be good if we could, but how?
Well, a very strange setting indeed, something none of our three adventurers could ever have imagined. Inside the cave, with Tia, Carl and Michael swimming round and round, were a dozen, maybe 24, big blue whales. A pod, in fact, because that's what you call a group of whales, a pod. Whales that were very much like the whales Michael's cousin had seen once in Kaikoura. "You wouldn't by any chance happen to know a young whale that goes by the name of Wilhelmina, would you?" asked Carl. This seemed to get the pod's attention. "We lost Wilhelmina weeks ago." They had finally found Wilhelmina's family. She would be pleased. "How did you get lost in here?" asked Michael as he splashed about in the water. "We're not quite sure," said one of the big blue whales. "It was during a storm a few weeks ago." Now, you see, it's really not that hard for insect pirates to trap a dozen, maybe 24 big blue whales. In fact, it's really quite easy when you know how. You just ask them really nicely. "Excuse me, would you like to be trapped by some insect pirates for a bit? Won't take long." Not quite how they did it, but pretty close. Every group of whales, or pod of whales, has a leader, or an alpha whale, a whale the rest of them follow. The pirates just exchanged the alpha whale for a pirate whale. They'd made one out of some tree branches and paper mache, and they followed it right into their underground cave. Simple, eh? "Well, Wilhelmina is outside watching our waka. She helped us find you," said Tia. "The big question now is how do we get out of here?" said Carl. The biggest blue whale had a fabulous idea. "I thought about it the day we first got trapped in here, but we're all too big." The cave they were in was lit by a tiny little hole way up in the top of the cave, way too small for a whale to squeeze through and way too high to climb up to. "You're going to fly up," explained the big blue whale. "Fly up?" Tia, Carl and Michael all said in disbelief. "We can't fly," said Tia. They were about to find out different. Whales breathe through a hole in their backs. It's where they sometimes blow out big spurts of water. The big blue whale told Tia to climb up on its back and sit over the hole. The big blue whale took a mighty big deep breath and whoosh blew a big spout of water way up high into the air with Tia on top. "Whee!" shouted Tia as she shot through the hole in the top of the cave. Next was Michael's turn. He climbed up on the back of the big blue whale and sat on its blowhole. The big blue whale took a mighty big deep breath and whoosh blew a big spout of water way up high into the air with Michael on top. Shouted Michael as he shot through the hole in the top of the cave. Then it was Carl's turn. He climbed up onto the back of the big blue whale and sat over its blowhole, and the big blue whale took a mighty deep breath and whoosh blew a big spout of water way up high into the air with Carl on top. "Yippee!" shouted Carl as he shot through the hole in the top of the cave. "I hope they can get us out," said the big blue whale. "Carl, your mum just called. You gotta go home and do your homework," Tia's mum shouted from the back porch. "Suppose I better go and do mine as well," said Michael. And with that, all three jumped out of their imaginary waka and went home to do their homework. Did they really find Wilhelmina the whale's family? Will they be able to help the pod of whales escape? Why did the pirates kidnap them in the first place? Let's find out next time. But until then, ka kite anō.